Welcome back to Quick Car Tips. This week we bring you a video about how to put the snow chains on, a process that can be very complicated if you don't know some of the details. So that is clear, we're going to show you how they have to look. Once installed, there must be a circle in each side of the wheel. That's what keeps the chains taut, which will later give us grip. Knowing this, it's easy to understand what we are going to do from now on. We take the chains out and make sure they are not tangled. Later, we'll show you a trick so that they never get tangled. But if you are putting them on right now, here are a few ways to untangle them comfortably. Usually, you pick them up this way, in a closed circle to see where the tangles are. However, you left with your hands full, so you can lean one half on the side mirror, leaving one hand free. If the mess is too complicated and you don't have anyone to hold them for you, you can try to spread them out in the trunk or hang them from the tailgate tray. That way, you can do it comfortably, without having to spread them out on the ground if it's not snowing at that very moment. If that's the case, you can do it inside the car, although it's not very advisable if they are dirty. What you should never do is to spread them out on the hood, because you can scratch it. The next step is to get the inner ring of the chain in place. To do this, you have to pass it behind the wheel in this way, leaving each group of chains on both sides of the wheel. Do it in such a way that this long chain is on the right side. Then, bring both ends of the ring up until you can close it like this. If you can fit your hands in your car wheel well, we've got some tricks to solve the problem at the end of the video. Now, center the chain on the thread and attach this coupling, with which we'll start to close the outer ring. To tighten the nut, pull together the two ends of the gap below. This is a step that most people skip and then have trouble adjusting the chain. Now let's finish to closing the outer ring. Thread the long chain through the turnbuckle and pull tight so there's not excess the left hanging by attaching it in the hooks on the chain while maintaining tension. When you put the chains on, drive forward a little and retighten them. Now, there are some pointers that you should always follow. If the car is front-wheel drive, put the chains on the front. If it's rear-wheel drive, put the chains on the rear for traction and put another pair on the front for steering and braking. If the car is four-wheel drive, it's better to put the chains on the front for traction, steering and braking potential. As always, take the usual precautions if you stop on a road. Wear a high-vis vest and put out triangles just like when changing a tire. In any case, it's always better to be away from the traffic, even more so in slippery terrain such as snow. Once they are on, do not exceed 30 miles an hour, although if you can go down to 20 miles an hour, all the better. As soon as you get to an area without snow, take them off so as not to damage them against the tarmac and give them a wash to remove the dirt when you can. Now let's talk about a very important trick which you should use as soon as you buy snow chains of this type. This way you will avoid the typical tangles that can be a real headache in difficult conditions. Quite often, they already come tangled in their box. Imagine having to undo this at night and in a heavy snowfall. When you buy them, untangle them leisurely in advance. As you can see, the chains has two distinct parts. Here is the trick to put them away so they don't get tangled again. Do the following. Store each part in a grocery bag. This will prevent them from tangling between both parts or even worse between chains of both wheels. You can also simply put each one in a bag, although it won't be as effective. If you haven't bought any yet, let's talk about which ones to buy for your car. Look at your tire sizes and find a chain that has those numbers listed. For example, here we have a 205/55 ARF16. Now let's get to the trick to how to put the chains on a car with a little space to fit your hands in. If it's at the front, you can do it quite easily if you turn the steering like this, then center it and straighten the steering to finish putting on the chain. If it's on the rear, you can try holding them this way to put the chains on. Pull tightly and put only your fingers in to hook up the ring. However, this is very difficult and it's better to opt for chains that are attached to the wheel nut, because it will save you a lot of effort. We'll tell you more about them later on. What we do not recommend is that you leave the car with a jack to increase the gap. It's very dangerous in slippery terrain, especially if you have your hands inside the wheel well at that moment. Other example of chains are textile chains, which are very easy to install. You hook them up at the top and then move the car a little to finish adjusting them. On the other hand, they are more expensive and more fragile. There are also composite snow chains. They are fitted in the same way as textile chains, although they are even more expensive but more resistant. Another example are the wheel bolt-on chains, which are easy to install but their price can also be very high. As mentioned before, their advantage is that you don't have to put your hands in the wheel arch to install them. And as a last example, those with individual parts fitted to the rings with straps. That's all. We hope you found this video useful or interesting. If so, please like and subscribe. See you next time.